My first long weekend road trip in the Tesla Model Y. In this video, my family and I are taking my new Tesla Model Y on its first long weekend road trip from Boston to Woodstock, Vermont. It's about 145 miles one way or 390 miles round trip. We plan to stay for 3 nights to ski, snowboard, and meet up with friends in the area. I'm going to share my impressions with the cargo capacity of the Model Y, with the supercharging stations on our route, and on FSD Beta and AutoPilot on the highway. Cargo capacity. I was really impressed with the cargo capacity of the Model Y. We have 3 people in our family, so when we go on road trips, we bring skis, snowboards, boots, helmets, and 1 or 2 bags per person for the trip. I was really impressed with the cargo capacity since it's a hatchback crossover utility vehicle, which allows me to lower one of the seats next to my daughter so that I can fit the skis and snowboards, which are longer, and I prefer not to use a roof rack to make the car more efficient. My wife has a BMW X3 and I traded in a Subaru Outback for this car. When you include the frunk, the Model Y actually has more cubic feet than both the X3 and the Outback. Looking at the outside of the car, you'd think it's a small car, but actually it has more space than you think because the electric vehicle really needs a large battery and 2 motors to run, and it doesn't have a lot of things like the engine, gas tank, clutch, differential, etc. When you add up the normal cargo space that you see, then add the sub-trunk in the back beneath the floor, which is large because there's no gas tank or a spare tire, and then if you add the front trunk or the frunk in the front, which is where you would normally find the engine, it's really spacious. So we were really impressed and surprised at how much cargo it could handle. And we felt comfortable inside during the trip, which was about 2 to 3 hours long. Usually in my Subaru Outback on a trip like this, my daughter would be sitting next to the skis and the snowboards, with a large bag of boots and helmets next to her. However, those were all in the frunk and the sub-trunk during this trip. Supercharging. As a new Tesla Model Y owner, I can't lie, I had some range anxiety about the trip, because I wanted to make sure that we could arrive at our destination with enough charge, perhaps something close to 80%, to last the entire weekend, so that I would not have to worry about charging during our stay. So I made sure to map out the 2 superchargers along the way and added them as extra stops before arriving at Woodstock. So we stopped about 15 to 20 minutes to charge at Hooksett, New Hampshire and West Lebanon, New Hampshire. The Hooksett Supercharger is at our regular interstate stop in Concord, next to a New Hampshire liquor store, while the West Lebanon Supercharger is in a mini mall area near Dartmouth College. The computer made sure to precondition my battery so that when I arrived at a supercharger, the battery was conditioned to charge quickly. And I was really impressed with the speed, which was much faster than my home charger, which is pretty fast at a 48 amp charger. We had to take breaks anyways, to use the bathroom or to take a break from driving. I ended up charging to 70 to 80% at each supercharger, but not to 100% because I had read that it would take a long time to get to 100%. When traveling long distances, I mapped out our destinations, Woodstock or home, because the computer shows you a fairly accurate estimate of what your state of charge will be at the final destination, so it's useful information when charging. I arrived at our destination with 74% state of charge, and it was more than enough to last the entire 3-day weekend without needing to charge. We drove to the ski resort, to restaurants in town, and to meet up with friends. It was fine, and I didn't have to worry about charging. I think I ended up with about 33% battery at the end of the weekend before our drive home. And on the way home, I stopped at both superchargers again in reverse order. I was close to 20 to 25% charged by the time I got to the first supercharger on the way home. The Tesla Model Y has a heat exchanger that heats up the battery when needed in the winter, and it makes it more efficient. This helps the battery performance, especially when it's cold in the winter. And from what I saw, I probably didn't even need to charge that long on the way home, as it forecasted me arriving at home with 40% state of charge. But I really would have been comfortable with just a state of charge of 20%, since my charger is at home. I didn't mind stopping at the superchargers. We had to stop anyways for bathroom breaks, food, drinks, shopping, and a visit to the New Hampshire liquor store. FSD Beta. I used FSD Beta or AutoPilot on the trip, and it was great with the interstate and highways, which were well marked. It would target my assigned speed. For instance, you can set the speed limit or set an offset that's slightly faster to match the traffic. Then it would center my car in the lane and ensure that I was also a safe distance from my car in front of me. I could adjust that distance. It also navigated for me following the directions from Google Maps. It was very cool. I also thought it was fantastic when we ran into bumper-to-bumper traffic, as it just had to follow the car in front of me. So it was more relaxing drive for me. I just didn't have to worry about centering in the lane or the distance from the car in front of me. I had to take over a few times, which were in construction zones, for example, or in areas where many lanes merged into one, or in areas where I felt that there were risks around me, like emergency vehicles nearby, a car following me too closely, busy sections, or driving in narrow highways with less markings. So you still have to pay attention and be ready to take over when needed. I thought that the FSD Beta was great on the drive up, and I used it most of the ride, especially on the well-marked interstates. However, on the way home from Woodstock to Boston, there was sleet and freezing rain in the earlier part of our trip back home. So in those situations, the FSD Beta and the computer-driven maneuvers that it makes, might be compromised in foul weather. So I felt more comfortable driving most of that time manually. Thanks for watching. I've had this car for just over a month and I love driving it. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please click like, comment, or subscribe. This is one of my Tesla videos on my channel. Please share any friendly tips in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I also have other videos on my channel that you may enjoy.